Welcome back to my channel, guys. Boy, do I have a story for you. Boy, do I have a story for you. This one's for the books. I'm in Morocco currently. It's my last day in Morocco. And a few days back, I had this encounter in Marrakesh that I want to talk about. I should start by saying that it's actually illegal to be gay in Morocco. Like, it's literally punishable by law. Which, of course, as a gay person visiting, you know, gives you some pause. You have to be more vigilant, more mindful, more observant, more aware. But at the end of the day, this is not my first rodeo. And I found that it's the exact same experience I had in the Emirates and in Egypt, where it's also illegal to be gay, that it doesn't really stop gay men from doing gay things. And the irony of it all is that these are also the places where I found men to be most eager to want to meet and to want to do some things. It's almost like the fact that it's even more taboo makes men even more. I don't know if it's that it makes them more exploratory. I think it's a combination of things. I think these are cultures where men are more maybe sexually repressed, including men who are otherwise bisexual or even straight. So it becomes a don't ask don't tell thing, a normalized don't ask don't tell thing for guys to do stuff with each other. I also think that probably the attention I receive in places like this is partially due to the fact that I'm just a visitor. Like, that alone makes me a safer opportunity, I think, for a local. Whereas, local meeting another local, that could be intimidating. It could be concerning. Maybe you don't know if you can trust the person to keep the secret. But somebody who's visiting for a few days that you'll probably never see again, I think that's part of it as well. So to give you an idea of how eager guys are to meet in a place like Morocco, I opened Grindr here my first night. And by the way, worth mentioning, when I come to places like Morocco, I make sure to have a discreet profile. Like, I'm not showing my face in profile pictures because it's just not worth, potential headaches, potential risks. You probably don't have really many risks on a legal level as a visitor, but it's not even worth risking, right? So a discrete profile. And even then, open Grindr, went to sleep. The next morning, I had like 30 unread messages, which is insane. And I'm not saying that to brag, because that doesn't happen for me even back home in Miami, which is like such a gay friendly place. That never happens. It only happens in countries like this. One guy stuck out to me, and he stuck out to me because he was polished. He was seemingly smart. It's funny how just from an exchange of messages, you kind of get an idea of like, oh, this person's like on a different intellectual level than most people I encounter on apps like this in any place, right? He was the only person who led with a "how are you," by the way. Most people just say hey, hi, one word responses. Maybe they lead with photos. He started with, "Hi, how are you? How's your trip going?" So we talked back and forth. And then when he showed me photos of himself, I was like, this guy's like my dream guy. You know how there's guys that you're attracted to in a very primitive way, but it's just like a hit it and quit it kind of thing. And then there's people you see, and it's hard to explain, but it's like they're not super hot in a libido driven way, but there's something about the way they carry themselves, the way they present themselves, that feels like it's like you're attracted to them in a partnership kind of way versus purely a sexual way. I don't know if this makes sense, but I've noticed over the years that it's a big part of my uh, sexuality, I guess, that it's like there's guys that I'm attracted to just in a hit it and quit it kind of way, and then there's guys that I'm like, oh, you're like somebody I would want to fall asleep next to. Like, I'm attracted to you in that kind of way. So he was the latter, and I was hesitant about meeting with him because there's a lot of escorts on these apps in Morocco. There were more in Turkey, but I also like had a few incidents with guys trying to scam me in person in Morocco, in the Medina, like the marketplace. So I was just kind of on edge about meeting anybody. But he was making his effort. He was shooting his shot. I was impressed. I was also just, again, very attracted to him. So he's like, hey, want to hang out? Can you have me over? And I was staying in a family friendly riad. That's at least what the owner of the riad described his business to me as when I first checked in. If you're not familiar with a riad, It's these Moroccan houses. I'm sure you've seen them in photos. And I don't know if that's the term used across cultures, because I feel like India has these too, and there's other cultures that have them too. But it's basically this house where there's an outdoor courtyard in the middle, and the house sort of revolves around that. So the rooms are kind of like in a square around this indoor sort of sanctuary. Usually there's a pool or a fountain, plants. It's very peaceful, very calm, very nice vibe. So I stayed in one of these. That was, I guess, like turned into a hotel, like a small boutique hotel. And the owner, literally, when I first checked in, was like, "Are you Spanish or are you Italian?" And I was like, "Neither. I'm French and Turkish." And he was like, "Oh, thank God." Because it's always them who try to bring somebody home after a few drinks. And this is not a brothel. This is a family friendly riad. So as soon as he said that, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, there's no chance of me bringing anybody home here. And honestly, it was so small as a property. This isn't like a juggernaut Marriott hotel or something, that I honestly wouldn't have even felt comfortable bringing somebody home anyway. It was not the kind of place where you can have any kind of discretion, quite frankly. So I tell the guy that I'm talking to on Grindr, "Hey, sorry, I'm at a family friendly riad. It's not the kind of place I can bring somebody." And he goes, "I totally understand, but I live with my family, so I can't have you over. That being said, I work at a riad." And he sends me his location, and it's about like a mile away on the other side of town. And he's like, "Why don't you come visit me?" And by the way, he left it ambiguous enough where I was like, is this supposed to be a hookup, or like am I just going to meet him? Either way, I wanted to meet him, and he established the same with me. Like I'm like curious about this boy. Like, who is this boy? I want to go meet him. So I start making my way over to him. And if you've never been to Marrakesh, let me just say Marrakesh it's a labyrinth. It's a maze. It is so confusing to get around. And after a while, all the streets kind of look the same. It's one of those places, right? This is a historic place. So obviously these are very, very old streets. So if you have a terrible sense of direction like I do, Google Maps ends up being your only mode of survival. Like if it wasn't for Google Maps, I probably would still be in Marrakesh, like trapped in a street somewhere trying to get home. So I'm following Google Maps, and again, he's a mile away, not that far, right? But as I'm making my way over, the streets are getting sketchier. And when I say sketchier, it's like there's fewer people in them. They're getting dirtier, like dustier. I'm also now seeing very few travelers. So then what happens is locals look at you more because you stand out more, which as a visitor makes you feel more uncomfortable because you're like, I don't think I'm supposed to be here. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, what if I'm just a buffoon and this guy's like a scam artist? Or like he's going to try to hustle me like those guys were trying to hustle me at the market. So he sends me a message when I'm nearby, and he's like, okay, it's the black door. Come meet me inside. And I look around, every door I see on the street is black. Every single one is black. And then this boy comes out of nowhere, and he tells me that I can't go this specific way, but I can go this other way. And so he starts walking with me, and then he tries to sell me his half-eaten candy bar. And I'm like, I'm on the way to potentially have a hookup. Like I'm in my own zone, and I'm like kind of nervous as it is. And now there's a child trying to fucking pitch me a candy bar. Like I was like, child, just go away. And he was like a pest. He wouldn't go away. And as this is happening, I'm realizing he lied to me about the other way, going the other way, which by the way, I've since learned is a thing in Morocco, that this is like scamming 101 in Morocco is they tell you you're going the wrong way so that then they can walk with you another way to then get money out of you for showing you the right way, even though it's just another way to get there. So this little boy won't go away. I finally muster the intelligence to outsmart an 8-year-old. I grab my phone and pretend to speak to somebody in Turkish, okay? Because if I speak French, he'll understand what I'm saying, because Moroccans typically speak French. If I speak in English, he might know some of it. So I speak in Turkish to confuse him and make him think I'm busy and about to meet somebody, or I'm distracted and can't give him attention. It works. He disappears with his half-eaten candy bar. I finally find the right black door on this sketchy street where there's nobody. And inside is this beautiful riad, much nicer than the one where I'm staying, by the way. So that part is funny to me, that like from the outside, my street was more normal, but this is a much nicer property inside. So there's this beautiful courtyard inside of this riad. And I see the boy standing in the corner. There's nobody else. And he's like, this, like, come this way. And I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing here? Like, is this the dumbest thing I've ever done? He leads me basically into an unoccupied riad room. So basically I'm in a hotel room that nobody's using, but it's a riad, right? So it's very intimate. It doesn't look like your standard hotel room. It looks like somebody's bedroom, basically. And we start talking, and his energy is so calm. He's so peaceful that I decompress, and he very gently touches me, like puts his arm around me and is like, thank you for coming to see me. Welcome to Morocco. So polite, so nice. And I'm still kind of like manic. I'm still thinking about like the 8-year-old who was chasing me down the street and the dusty road and like, what am I doing here? And his energy is just so alluring that I calm down. He goes in for a kiss. It's just perfect. And then 30 seconds into that, his phone rings. And he's like, oh, it's my boss. And I'm like, what? What do you mean it's your boss? And he's like, yeah, my boss went out for an errand, but like, it's okay. We have enough time. And so his boss, is talking to him on the phone. And I see him give the most fake, he's talking in Arabic, but he's giving the most fake, like, oh, yeah, I'm on it. Like, I'm actually on the 3rd floor right now, taking a look at that utility issue or whatever. And as he's saying this, he's looking at me like, hangs up. He starts to kiss me again. And I'm still kind of on edge saying like, are you sure we should should be doing this? Like, we're in this room where you work. Like, what are we doing? And he's like, listen, it's a much bigger risk for me. So if I'm comfortable doing it, you should be comfortable. And I thought, he's got a point. He's got a point. So we go back to touching, and then he stares at me and goes, I love your eyes. And when a man stares at me into my eyes during intimate times like this and says something like that, game over. Like, you have me. You have me. Take me. About 5 minutes later, I hear another noise, but it's not a phone buzzing. It's like a different kind of buzzing. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, oh, there's some hotel guests probably waiting for me at the reception desk. They're probably hitting the bell or whatever. And he says it again so calmly. And I'm like, what do we do? And he's like, oh, it's okay. I'll go see them. Again, he's so calm and unbothered. I'm like, how is this possible? Like, I'm freaking out and I'm not even the one working here. Like, I'm literally just visiting. Like, how am I stressing out and you're not stressing out? He calmly puts his shirt back on, like, at this pace. I would be like, he's like, if you could just sit there so that you're not in the view, I'll keep the doors open. But just if you could sit over there, just so low key. I hear him talking to the hotel guests calmly. And then he comes back, closes the doors, takes his shirt off, and we go back to kissing and, doing some other stuff. It was kind of amazing. And it's so interesting how that attraction that I mentioned, when you're attracted to somebody, not just physically, but like emotionally, something about their physicality makes you emotionally attracted to them. What is that? Is that an intuitive thing? Are we wired that way? Because my instincts were right. In person, he did have this like warmth that was very appealing, like safe energy, if that makes sense. So we had our fun. And then he said, my boss should be coming back soon. You probably should end this now. I'm like, okay. So he's like, on your way out, just act like you're a regular hotel guest. Just walk out of here the same way you came in. And then I'll follow after you like 20 seconds later to not make anything obvious. So I'm now about to walk out. And before I walk out of this room in the riad, I look back at him kind of like as a final goodbye, like, it was great meeting you thing, right? So I go like this and I start walking out while still looking at him. And I hit my head. I was supposed to crouch. I didn't realize I was supposed to crouch. I hit my head on the wall and it creates such a loud thud that there's a woman in the courtyard sitting there in the riad and she just stares at me. And now I'm like, wonderful. Of course, now I'm frazzled all over again. I walk out into the courtyard and of course I go down the wrong set of stairs. I realize it about 10 seconds in. I come back out. The woman stares at me again. She's like, who is this guy? I find the right stairs. I leave. And my stroll home, first on this dusty road, I felt like I was in the final scene of like a Sex in the City episode, when Carrie's just strolling through thinking about her life and she suddenly has a moment of confidence of like, everything's going to be okay. And you're kind of a boss. Like, that's how I felt. I was like, what is my life that I just met a boy in a riad. That was not my riad. That was not the one where I am staying. I just met a boy in a room in a riad in Morocco and had an amazing time, by the way. Risky? Yeah. But worth it? Absolutely. I hope you guys were entertained by this story that I'm still thinking about days later with this boy. And the next time you see me, I'll be in Portugal for my final stop of this international trip. I'll catch you guys next time.